Now, many of the Nobel Prizes we've discussed so far have been won by a single individual who did something so freaking awesome that the committee decided it was just theirs. Nobody else, just them. But this year, it was split between two people. This guy, who you may not have heard of, named Karl Braun, and this guy right here, who you probably heard of, who goes by the last name of Marconi. Officially, their prize was awarded for recognition of their contributions in the development of wireless telegraphy, which is a big fancy way of saying they invented the thing that teenagers and families and people in their car couldn't live without for years, otherwise known as the radio. Now, Braun did many things in his career, but radio was just one of them. One of the things he is credited with is he did one of the first devices that was known as a rectifier. A rectifier may not mean much to most people, but it is vital in many of the electronics we use. What it does is it converts alternating current into direct current by allowing electrical flow to only go one direction as alternating current bounces back and forth. So without that work, a lot of the devices that we hold in our hand, call our friends on, post on social media with, would not function. One of the other things he's credited with is the creation of the first crystal oscillator. And really, that's just an electronic circuit that uses the mechanical resonance of a vibrating crystal to generate a sine wave, which is an electronic signal at a very precise frequency so that it can be turned into sound inside the speaker of your radio. Without this device, the early radios would not function. Of course, today's radios use something else completely, but we had to start somewhere. Now back to this fellow, Marconi. He was part electrical engineer, part physicist. He was even a politician. He was really the first person to really create a radio wave based on this wireless telegraph system. He was, his entrepreneurial side also kind of came into play here because he founded a company called the Wireless Telegraph and Signal Company in the UK, which eventually became the Marconi Company in 1929. He was even called a Marquis by King Victor Emmanuel III of Italy, and in 1931 he got the honor of setting up Vatican Radio for Pope Pius XI. So let's look at how he got there. Now, Marconi, being as much an entrepreneur as a scientist, saw a bunch of these things and went, you know what, I could do something really cool with those. If you have a relatively simple oscillator, which we do thanks to our friend Braun, a wire, a metal sheet with some kind of capacity of area suspended above the ground for an antenna, if you have a receiver and a telegraph key, instead of running wires across incredible distances to run the telegraph to send messages, you don't have to worry about the wire. You just wirelessly transmit it, push the key at one end, it works at the other end, and the next thing you know, you can save all that money you would have had to spend stringing wires that can easily be cut and just transmit that signal wirelessly. Marconi, being ever the entrepreneur, knew what he had. Here you can be seen in the late 1890s demonstrating a long-range transmission of Morse code where it would print out on a strip of paper. So it was no wonder the Academy, the Nobel Committee, took notice of this and said, you know what, this really is going to change the world. This really is great science, great engineering. They took the two people responsible, the man who did all the laboratory stuff, Marconi, who did a great deal in the laboratory, but also did a fantastic job selling it, put it together, award the Nobel Prize. That is the 1909 Nobel Prize in Physics. Click like, subscribe, or follow whatever channel you see us on, and everybody have a great night. We'll see you on the next video.